Hey, what is up guys? Whip here and welcome back to another vanilla tutorial. Today we're going to be building this big old great oak tree behind me right here, so I do hope you guys enjoy it and let's get on with that tutorial. Alright guys, so for this tutorial right here, it's going to be more of a guide than an actual tutorial. You want to start off by making a 13 tall oak pillar right there using oak wood, and we're going to work on making some branches here because that's really the important part of the tree. The way I build trees is kind of working as branches, then making larger leaves off of each of the branches, then overlaying those, at least for oak trees, and I find it works pretty well. You can see we're just using different angles for the logs. It's okay that they look a little interesting. We're going to be coming in later and adding some fences in here to kind of bring everything in together, make some smaller branches using the oak fences, and it really works out pretty well. These are actually very easy to make in survival because you have all the scaffolding through the logs to walk around in it. My main goal here with these logs, or the branches sticking out, is don't make them straight. Make them all going at some sort of an angle, make them all move around, make them all kind of reaching up for oak trees. You can see here at the ends we're adding in little fence bits where that's where we're going to work out with the detailing. We're going to be stepping in here in just a sec to start building some leaves, but first up at the top you can see we kind of made a bunch more little branches because that's where the new growth on the tree would be coming from. So this guy right here, I follow a basic pattern of using diagonal lines, and then we come back in and mix those up. So the reason why I'm saying this is more of a guide than anything is I'm not going to tell you exactly where to place every leaf. It's really just depends on the shape of the tree that you're going with. You're going to figure it out yourself. But you can see we went from the diagonal lines there. We moved some forward, we moved some backwards. We occasionally added an extra one in to fill in that gap, and it really helped bring it out as an actual tree shaped thing for a giant leaf. Now we're moving on to another one right here. You can see we're bringing it down. We don't want to bring it away too far from the branch because we want this to be pretty realistic. Something to think about later though, which we will do here, is if you have any wide open spaces, just go ahead and fill that in with another branch. Bring another branch out from the trunk or from a nearby larger branch or something, and then you can fill that area in with leaves. But you can see we finished that one up right there using that diagonal lines and then filling in those extra little spots. We're going to start up here again, just do another one. I want to run through a first few of these pretty slowly so you guys can kind of see what's going to go on. And we're doing our first little overlapping right there, which is kind of happening, really just trying to slowly bring them in together. Pretty much you build all the leaves individually, then you figure out what open spaces you have left, and then you go back and fill those in, and it comes out looking pretty natural. It's okay to have open spaces. One thing that I always really look for when I'm building a tree, when I'm looking at trees that other people have built, is from underneath, can you see the sun through the tree? Go under a tree outside, you can almost always see the sun in there. You can see those little spaces right there. Kind of going in, we're filling in a little bit, making that canopy a little bit thicker right in here. But with an oak tree, most of the leaves are actually on the outside, so the inside is just the wood parts. There's not very many leaves in there if you think about it. A great way of building these is to go look at a picture of the real tree and try and recreate that. So just Google images, giant oak tree, and then you kind of just build off of that, and it works really well. That's kind of what I always do. I really recommend it to people, and they're always like, huh, that's a great idea. I should have thought of that. I'm like, yeah, just go ahead and look up an actual picture of it. Don't look up a Minecraft tutorial. Look what the actual thing looks like and try and make that for yourself. Anyways, here we're doing a bunch more leaves on this side, just trying to fill in these spaces. You can see as we're slowly kind of bringing things together. Down at the bottom, you'll see I'm not bringing them down to a consistent line at all. They're kind of all just working as they go. You can see right here, we're actually going to be adding in another little branch, just bringing that guy down a little bit. Some fences in there just to fill in that gap because there's too wide of a gap in there to really bring it all together. So I decided we really need to kind of bring everything in there together so it actually had something to hold those leaves back to the tree instead of just floating leaves. That's another thing that I always look for when I'm looking at trees that other people are building or asking for help with them, is you don't want leaves that aren't connected to the tree. Yes, you could say there's tiny little branches running through the tree, but those would all be coming out of the trunk. So there's always a wood part that goes out to those, and then from there it goes to a smaller branch, and then there you could have the little tiny branches inside the leaves, for example. But you got to have some way connecting it to the trunk. That's something you always want to think of, always want to work with. We're going to start picking up the speed here and doing these lower bits, and then we'll slow it down once we get to the top. But you can see kind of everything's coming here together. We added another branch in right there for that open spot, and we're kind of creating this flowing shape down at the bottom, where some of them are dipping a little bit lower and then others, but for the most part, they're all really still coming in pretty solid together. Again, you can see the ground through the trees here a little bit because we haven't quite finished this up yet. We're going to thicken up the canopy on the bottom. Anyways, right here, we're gonna start working on the top of this guy. You can see it slowly. We're gonna try rounding it out. Up here, we use a lot of leaves because this is where the tree would be getting a lot of its nutrients from the sun. So we wanna have a lot of leaves up here, and you're gonna see we're gonna make this little flat area at the top just kind of to level it out and then build off of this guy going down. This guy, I actually brought it up one higher than I really wanted to. I think we left it at that lower level. It would look a little bit better, but you can do whatever you want here with this. Pretty much you just want to start by creating some lines down from here, connecting to those tops of those branches that you've already done, and then fill in with just fences wherever you need to, just to make it look like it's connected to the tree. And then that really helps you bring everything together. We do, however, have this giant gap right here that's really okay. We're gonna fill it in with some leaves. You're gonna see we're gonna connect it in down there and kind of layer these things using that diagonal pattern with the leaves again, just the diagonal lines that are stepping down one at a time. And it really helps it out because then you can go back in and move them forward and backwards just one by one, like I've talked about a few times now. And it really helps bring things out. And you can make, I would say in an area, unless it's the top of the tree, never have more than 3 leaf blocks actually connected like by a side. So you can have like a little tiny L shape, you can have a little line of 2 or 3, but you never want to have more than that because then it looks a little rough and it looks a little flat. You can see right here, this is kind of our last little spot. We're going inside of the tree now, apparently. And I don't remember recording this part, but yeah, so we're inside the tree now. You can see a lot of the stuff. Yep, there we're going back out of the tree. Hey, would you look at that? I don't know why I did that. Okay, well, you can see the tree here and everything's really starting to come together, and we got this one last spot to fill in. There's a lot of things going on in here. You can see a lot of the different layers kind of layering over each other. If you look closely, you can see those giant leaves that I was trying to talk about. There's basically a giant like maple leaf or something that's just hanging over that branch, and then there's another big one on top of it hanging over that. And that's what I love to think about in here. I think it works really well if it's done correctly. It can look really stupid if not done correctly, but that's kind of where I'm at right now with this, guys. That's the whole tree right there. That's what I want to show you guys. You can see the round shape of the canopy. You want it very round. You don't want straight lines. You don't want it arched. You don't want to point at the top with oak trees. You want it very round and very natural looking and kind of fluffy. You want to make your trees look very fluffy and airy. So you have those gaps in there. You can see through the tree a little bit. Underneath, you're going to be able to see back up through the sun. Great way to test this actually is turn on some shaders if your computer can handle it and look up from underneath, and you can see like sun rays poking through, God rays and things through the shaders. And it's actually a great way of telling if it's a good tree or not. If you see just a few of those, if you look at the right angle, you're doing something right. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like down below. Subscribe if you're new and if you love this type of stuff. Also, let me know in the comments below what type of tutorials you guys would like seeing in the future. I love making these. They're super fun, and it's been a really positive experience from you guys so far. So I'm definitely going to be keeping it up. And that's all I got for this episode, guys. So I will catch you on the flip side.